Hello, good morning, good afternoon. In some part of the world, I think it's evening, right? But hey, it's a beautiful morning here where I'm currently at. It's Minneapolis, Minnesota. And hey, this is we're coming straight from the EF 21. It was exciting. We got to hear from the women in tech and a lot of paneling and an incredible, panel sessions. But hey, today I would like to welcome the ACOFDC Women in Tech and Friends to the ACOFDC podcast. And I would like to introduce first, start with the co-host from the amazing, Suriname. We have Tosca Pinas, and also we have, Esther Yancho, the CEO of Testawi. And I'll like to also introduce Mahajuini and also Melissa Slaymaker. And you get to hear from them shortly. And my name is Eric Kagama. I serve currently as the president and the CEO of the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce. And for those that are watching out there on YouTube, enjoy yourselves. And I'll hand it over to Tasca.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. I welcome you here today to this great event, our podcast. And my name is Tosca Pinas, like Eric already mentioned, member of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce, and also involved co-founder of the Black Women in Tech Suriname. And welcome. And I am glad that you're here today. Thank you.
Awesome. As mentioned, my name is Esther Nyauncho. I'm one of the founders of Testawi. I'm calling in from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm really glad to be here. Testawi is an edtech company, so I am in the tech space. I'm doing, I think, quite many different things that we look forward to chatting about today. Thank you.
Hi, I'll speak. My name is Melissa Slaymaker. I am the country director for Women in Tech South Africa, which is part of the Women in Tech global movement. And I'm also an advisory member to the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce. I like speaking about women empowerment, financial inclusion, especially using technologies across the Africa continent, and just really glad to be here and to speak to all you lovely ladies today. Thank you for having me.
Hello, hi, my name is Mahajwini. I'm a regional director, North African in Africa Chamber for Digital Commerce. I'm really happy and glad to join you today for this beautiful discussion about leadership in Africa with a special highlights on African women. More than happy and delighted to have Melissa, Tosca, all of you, and I really believe that we are going to have a real beautiful time. Thank you.
Kelvin?
Yeah, good evening, my time. My name is Jiraji Kelvin Tiso. I'm the head of communication for the African Chamber of Digital Commerce. It's nice to have you all at the Women in Tech conversation for the ACOFDC podcast. Today, we are looking at an amazing topic. And of course, as the host earlier introduced themselves, I'll nudge it over to them. But the theme of the day, or the topic of the day, is our brand, a leadership concept. So Esther, Toaster, you guys can take it over from there.
Thank you. When we are talking about a brand, mostly we are thinking about a marketing concept, but I think that when we were hit by the COVID-19, the pandemic, we came more closely to each other through the digital world, you know, and I am an African in diaspora, for example. And when we are talking about a brand, it's something that will represent you. It's something that when you heard about a brand, that's who you are. And I'm looking for a brand when we're talking about the African and the African in diaspora. And that's the main thing about this podcast this evening. And the thing is, for me, it's a leadership concept, knowing who I am, knowing where I came from, and also to know where I'm going. And this is about a concept for whether it's in the education, in finance, in everything we're doing, is very important for us to be transparent and morally to know who we are. And that's how I see it from my point of view when I'm talking about a brand, a leadership concept to come and join each other so that we know who we are, where we are standing, and how we take it from here on. Thank you.
Awesome. I'd like to ask you a quick question, Tosca. I know could you share a little bit about you could take about 30 seconds to share a bit about, I know your background is you're an economist by training, and I know you're part of the team that started, the Women in Tech, like in Suriname. If you could just share with the rest of the world here, before you delve on other subjects that have to do with the challenges, both the challenges and also some of the things you're looking forward to, and some of the things that excite you within the tech space, especially the ones I'm concerned that have to do with women. So how is it over there? Like Suriname, if you could just share with everyone here and also the world as well, that would be fantastic.
Okay. What we have seen is Suriname is a very beautiful country in South America. We were colonized by most of the European countries. We are a Dutch-speaking country. We have a very multi-ethnical society, and we are also called, if you come to Suriname, for example, we are the best kept of Africa out of Africa, looking at our culture. And when we started the Black Women in Tech Suriname, it was out of the ACOFDC, because we were aware of that we wanted to take our women to a place where they could join together with other women from the world. If you come to Suriname, for example, we have women in, like I said before, in all kinds of sectors. But the main thing about our country is that although we know each other, but there are lack of so many things. And the Black Women in Tech Suriname is there for women, not only to educate them in technical issues, but also in management skills, because it's very important to empower women nowadays. And that's one of the main things we are doing at this moment with the Black Women in Tech Suriname. Our organization is to train women, to strengthen them through all kinds of training. We are offering regional, national, but also international. I myself, for example, I am an economist working in the maritime sector, and also very involved with women based on the Sustainable Development Goals, knowing that we have to empower women to make them aware, to make them strong of the challenges they have to face, but also of the possibilities the world has to offer them. And one of the possibilities we are looking within the chamber, for example, is remote jobs. How can I be in Suriname and work? And the digital world is not the physical world anymore. We have seen, like an economist, for example, we have seen that everything is moving from the space a space where you sit at the office, but I can be anywhere at this moment and work, and that's what we are offering these women together with other women within the network of the ACOFDC.
Awesome, awesome, and actually, and that's a fantastic, response. Esther, what about you? Who is Esther, and what's the Tustawi? I share a little bit of
Yeah,
that with us.
thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tustawi, we are an edtech company based in Nairobi, as mentioned, but I think we serve clients across the globe. What we really are seeking to achieve is to transform how adult learning is done, especially in Africa, using technology. And it's sort of that whole process of doing a needs analysis and finding the right solution that makes sense, and also really creating things that make sense for our market. That last part is one of the key reasons we started the company, because we just found that a lot of the capacity building that the workforce was doing just wasn't very relatable to our market. So then people have to spend, I think, a lot more efforts asking themselves and figuring out, how do I take this thing that I've learned into my workforce, into my market, that it makes sense. So that's what Tustawi does. We're just trying to, tech is just I think a conduit. It's a means to help us ease some of the processes, but for us, it's really not just about the tech. We just want to use it in a really, really smart way and an efficient way. Esther is many things. I was born in Kenya. I was raised in Minnesota, actually.
And I was coming to that. A Minnesota girl, right? A Viking.
Yeah. I'm like bred. I'm such a Minnesotan through and through. Went to University of Minnesota. I studied finance. And I came back to Kenya about 8 years ago. It was supposed to be a short stint. One of those, like, let me see what's there. And then I was gonna go back, but I just kind of, I don't know, fell in love with the place and wanted to see what more I could do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's we'll come back to that, in a bit, right? We'll get to do a little bit about, what you're doing with Testawi. And I know the EF, 21, others said, I think we should rename it the Girls Power, instead of Forum, the Emergent Africa Forum, right? They said we should name it Girls Power, Forum, because we had two amazing, women as keynote speakers, both for the virtual and also in person. We had, the incredible, Sadev, the CEO of, the Beacon Economist, and also we had the from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We had the Minister of Women Affairs, who was ably represented by one of our technical assistant aide, and it was the presence, the women, the presence of women there was really, really inspiring, and incredible and amazing, talented, women as a matter of fact. So it's EF21, aka Girls Power Forum. So that was so that unofficially. But hey, Maha, you are an AI expert. Tell the viewers that are watching the AACODC podcast right now a little bit about you. I know you wear different hats. In addition to the fact that you also represent the chamber as the regional managing director as well. Let's get to take 30 seconds and let's share who you are and some of the things you're doing with AI, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Tosca. Thank you, Esther, Melissa, all of you. First of all, I'd like to share with you beautiful news coming from Tunisia, from the whole Arab world, that at the first time, finally, Najla Boudin, she's an expert in geology. She's academician Tunisian. She has been designated as Prime Minister of Tunisia since September 29, and it's said to be the first female prime minister in North Africa and in the whole Arab world. So we Tunisian women, we North African, we African, Arabs, Muslim, finally we get a woman on that position. And I believe that women leadership needs a political decision. Really, we need it to reach into that point, because in the last time, like let me talk as on a specific thing before I move that I'm an AI expert and stuff. In the Muslim world and in Muslim families, there were some work forbidden to women, and these habits, these customs, it was really propagated among Arabs and among some communities. By the time, by the spread of human rights values, and thanks to feminist Muslim movements, we reach that point. We start to have women who are lawyers, women who are judges, and women who are politicians. And all these coming after a long journey of advocating, of lobbying, and a real community lobbying. So today we are really happy to have a prime minister and to show that women can lead, women are able to lead. And when God create us, we were not less powerful physically or mindly than men. And I think it's the real time to talk about women leadership, not only on business point of view, but on real cultural point of view. Because let me repeat it, as Muslim, as North African, as African, we really need to include this side of our discussions and of our future discussions. Well, I'm an AI expert, not yet, not that big expert, but I'm on the way to be it, inshallah. Well, I studied artificial intelligence in China, in Tianjin University of Education and Technology. I wrote many papers about implementation of artificial intelligence and the meaning of artificial intelligence, because after I finished my study and I go back home, people, they don't know about what I'm talking about. So we had to go step by step to them and to make them understand about what we are talking. And also, we as leaders, we need to understand what our government is passing through. Because in Tunisia, let me talk about the case of my country. Like, we still have traditional rules, we still have a real traditional administration, which is not able to move into the digital areas. That's why we pushed the Tunisian parliament to implement laws, new laws, new rules to help the new startup, and also to implement rules about cyber violence, about new economy, about this new concept, because we cannot move into digital age while we are still under the traditional mind. That's all.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Maha. And I know you got more. We got there are a lot of things that you're going to be sharing with us as well. I know you're involved in so many projects, especially the one that has to do with gender equality and other things within and Pan-Africanist as well. And yeah, so just
everything is connected to each other.
absolutely, absolutely,
We cannot
absolutely.
remove side and
And equally, absolutely. And over, we go to Melissa over in Cape, beautiful, Cape Town, South Africa, and equally doing amazing things, within within the tech space, wearing multiple hats as well. And Melissa, I know you recently transitioned from your role to country director. If you could just share a bit, a bit about you to the world, and also how the transitioning is going, and also, just something that I know your community programs that you're also doing within the Cape. That would be fantastic. Go ahead, Melissa.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the introduction and for having me. So, as I mentioned, I'm the country director for Women in Tech South Africa chapter. The Women in Tech is a global movement, and a lot of what Tosca mentioned, of what the programs and the need and everything that you mentioned, is literally very much aligned. We also work towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We focus on 5 of the SDGs, which include education, social inclusion, science and innovation, and then obviously diversity and inclusion in the workplace. I have, as you mentioned, I wear 2 hats, or 3 hats really. But I wear, so I am a technology recruiter and headhunter within the tech space, and I've been doing that for about 14 years. So the need for finding women in my technology roles came from the fact that I try to headhunt people, and there's so few women, and it was an issue that I came across when I was doing my role as a recruiter. And then a couple of years ago, we decided to actually, not just for finding women for jobs, but actually being aware of the need and the benefits of having women teams and having women in your company. And you know that the research has been done, that having a diverse team and things like that is so beneficial, but we need to start actually from the youth, from school, from primary school, from high school. So we, as Women in Tech, we've got in South Africa various programs. So we don't just talk about the need, we actually impact and we take action and we actually do things. And there's so many programs that we actually do. You'll be in the last few years, you'll be surprised the amounts of work that's been going into this. But just a few highlights to mention. We run a This Is Me program, which is tailored towards students that are just about to graduate, so the final year students in university, or in if they're doing a diploma or things like that, or they've just entered the workforce. So that sort of vulnerable gap when you're leaving this being a student and you're going into either corporate world or things like that. So we have a confidence building program which is 4 months long, where students can learn about communication skills, job readiness. We talk about imposter syndrome, and a lot of it is also around brand awareness, which I think is very much relevant for this talk today, talking about the brand, where we actually teach women that it doesn't matter what your background is, whether you come from a township, whether you come from an affluent area, whether you come, doesn't matter your race or religion or your age. All women, that we really want to support everyone and say to them, look, you are your unique brand. Everyone has their own story. Doesn't matter what your story is. You are you, and you should actually celebrate yourself and your strengths. And we really go through, like we do Google I'm a Remarkable workshops with the students, as well as many other things during the 4 months. But it is to build confidence and brand awareness. And at the end of the program, they then have a CV. They've got, we give them advice on how to create a CV, how to create LinkedIn profiles, how to prepare for an interview. So all of those things. That's just one program. We also launched, we're building a learnership center in one of the township areas in Cape Town, where we are going to we have got devices and data and all of those needs that are being fulfilled by building the center through various of our partners being able to give access. And I think access is the problem. So in South Africa, even in Cape Town, you see a big divide still between the real poorer communities and the real affluent communities. So Cape Town is almost like the Silicon Valley of South Africa. We've got so many startups, so many wonderful things, companies being invested in, and there's some really great technology, companies that we want to, that we shout about and showcase. But then there's also this really a gap, coming into the rural areas where they don't have access to technology. They don't have access to data and things like that. And that's where women in tech have been very active in trying to bridge that gap by, getting corporate companies to donate devices, for instance, or we work with our partners where they go and go reach out to the schools. And I think that's where the youth is so important. We have to inspire from a young age that technology and IT is not just for the men, it's for women as well, and tell them about the opportunities and share the knowledge and share the access. So we also have pitching competitions for women entrepreneurs, and we're actually launching now the 13th of October another program called Power Her, which is going to be talking about women doing groundbreaking things across Africa. So it's introducing women that are doing groundbreaking things in either education, in the government, in corporate, in entrepreneurship, and really giving them the platform and telling their stories and giving other women access to, to their chosen career field. So there's really a lot of work still to be done. The gender gap in technology or in STEM fields is still getting larger. For some reason, we're doing all this work, but we still need to be doing more work because it is still a problem. I think that needs to be solved, but we're trying to do it one thing at a time. But there's so much work to do, and Tosca, I would love to speak to you about maybe if you want to open a Women in Tech chapter in your country, because it's such a global platform. You get access to international programs, and I think that really you don't have to reinvent the wheel in some areas because there's already these things that you can link to, and it's all free, like it's there to be shared. So I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Melissa. Melissa, I've been following your work keenly within the Women in Tech space and advocacy. I can connect with your passion. I see how passionate you've been. But one of the challenges of leadership in Africa is mentorship. Oftentimes we see very great people walk the path of greatness in Africa, and they just transcend and live without raising up the younger generation to fill in their very, very huge. So on the personal note, what are you doing personally and leveraging your position to actually raise very passionate young girls like you, who you are very, very sure filling your space, because it's only natural over time due to age and other responsibilities, you have to give way for other people to come in. But if you've not deliberately prepared certain persons to fill in or come in with your passion, with your enthusiasm, with what you represent, oftentimes you leave a very, very huge gap. So what are you actually doing to champion that cause in terms of mentorship?
Thank you for the question. Now, I think it's really great question, because that's one of the challenges, is that there are not enough mentorships or mentors in, especially in the technology space or in the digital space. A lot of the times, it's not always just the women leadership, but even getting a good mentor is always challenging, because it's not just as easy as choosing someone and say, great, you're my mentor. It's a lot of decision making going into a mentorship. It talks about, having a personal connection to someone, having that, the real, responsibility, because it's in the real accountability for being a mentor. You can really do damage if you have if you don't have the right relationship with someone. Women in Tech, they do have a role model masterclass, which is actually, there's actually two: role model masterclass by the Netherlands chapter, and there's a mentorship program by the Russian chapter. So again, it's a very international network, but it's free and it's for anyone to join. I think what I might do is I can send some links through for people to share if they want to join these mentorship programs. One is to train people how to become a good mentor. So it talks about, your, how do you, like, training people, saying, look, how do you pass on your strengths, and how do you pass on your values and your experience and knowledge to someone in the right way. And I think it is around accountability, so that we have regular check in and say, having goals. And I think if you're goal oriented, and if you say, okay, in this month, this is what we would like to achieve, and then you check in to say, has this been achieved through the mentorship? Because a lot of times, if it's not being sort of monitored, then you don't know if the mentorship was successful or not. So I think it is very important to reach, and I think when you speak to the youth, a lot of women don't even think about getting a mentor. Why should I get a mentor? Like, is it someone that is a family member, or is it someone that I work with? It doesn't even have to be someone that is in your close-knit community. It could be someone that is in an international community, but that is a trained mentor that has got has been through training of how to be a good mentor. And that's what we're doing through Women in Tech. So there are ways and links that I can share with you where we've got a mentorship program. And for myself, I mentor just the youth team of our Women in Tech chapters. We've got at the moment 8 youth team members, and it's pure volunteers, women that want to, share their time with, either creating events or doing workshops, or just joining in with sharing our social media. So there's a lot of ways that people can contribute, but it's really about, having that connection and just knowing that in any stage of your life, whether you're an entrepreneur or in a corporate role or just being a mom, having a mentor is really going to help. And I think that's been something that's always been very more prevalent in men. They have their little, poker clubs or cigar rooms where they always go, and this is a men's club, and they give mentorship. That's a way of helping each other. But women never really used to do that. So I think now we waking up to, wow, we actually need to collaborate, and women need to help each other, and we need to help each other up and be there for each other, because then as a community and as a collective, you can do so much more and accomplish a lot.
Okay,
Hopefully that
thank
answers
you.
your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Esther?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Melissa. Yeah, can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Melissa. I think that was, I think those raises really good points. And it made me, I had a question for Maha, and perhaps you can maybe just talk a bit about, what kinds of networks do you use, and how do you leverage those networks to stay motivated, or to also, how do you motivate others who are either maybe, facing similar challenges or totally different, or those who are younger and they're coming up after you?
Yeah, thank you, Esther, for your question. Like networking, I start to network, or let me say it like I didn't start it, I didn't choose it. It was a fact, it was a reality. Like since I grew up, since I start as a blogger, as a journalist, studying in Tunisia, then moving abroad to China to study. Like it wasn't a choice for me. We need to come together and be together. I remember when I was studying in China, I was part of the initiative of DUAPA Africa China, because at that time, we African students in China, we realized that there are people, there are foreigners, like non-Africans, they are underestimate us. And also our own people, they were underestimate us and underestimate our capacity. And I share these stories all the time. Once I was talking to one Chinese student with me at the campus about II and about my supervisor, and at the end I pick up the phone, I start to talk in Arabic. So the guy, he was shocked, and he say it to me, like in front of me, like, how dare an Arab African like you study at Tianjin University of Education and Technology? And really I felt so bad about it. And these stories on high academic level, and especially on fields where it's connected into smart people, because we believe in this. people who are leaders, who are brave, are smart, they can work in robotics, they can be up to date all the time. So we Africans, we come together with the Tianjin Association of African Students. We come together with JWAPA Africa China. We build our own association. Our main goal is to brand in Africa and also to brand in ourselves. Because being African is brand. And us, we are also the brand. So networking wasn't a fact, was an obligation. En fait, je ne l'ai pas choisi. I didn't choose it. So it comes when the need is real. Like here, I'm based in Mauritania. I work in Mauritania. I work in digital transformation. I have my own startup. I launch it. And it needs to be connected with other ladies who are engineers, who are working here, who are fighting against patriarchy, against masculinity, against these guys who are less educated than us, but they permit to themselves to take the lead and to talk on your behalf. So we have to come together because we are on the same boat. We have the same goal and we need it really.
Yeah. No, and I think that's great. Like if you don't find the community wherever you are, or it's not already existing, then you make it or find a way and find those people. There are always people who have the same vision or having the same struggles, and there's always commonalities that you can leverage to help each other. And I think that's really inspiring. And I had, just another quick question was imposter syndrome. And I know imposter syndrome is a big one, especially for women. And then let's make it even better for women, African women who are in a space where there's so few of us there. Is this something you've encountered, and how did you navigate it? And what kinds of things did you do to sort of get out of it? And how would you, what kind of advice would you give others?
I didn't get the last part. Would you please?
Yeah, no, I was just asking then what kind of advice would you give others who are experiencing imposter syndrome and don't really know how to go about it? Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Just continue and trust on your community. That there are people who believe on you, who are really ready to help and to stand by you. I really want to share one funny story. I'm one of the fans of Melissa, and a lot of time I really want to talk to her, and then I said, oh, she's a regional director, she might not talk to me. Oh no, she's South African, and I don't trust also my English. Like English is my third language. So I'm all the time saying, it's my, but, and then I talked to her on LinkedIn. She was really nice and kind to me, and we began friends, and she's really helpful. So that's it. Just go ahead and do the first steps. This is what we really, this is my advice. And people they need to have the courage and do it. If you really want to do something, if you want to talk to others, if you want to share your stories, do it. You don't know. You may get good friends, you may get good support, and you learn from it. Be positive.
This is what I meant to say as well, Maha. Thank you very much. And I always love chatting to you. You've got such great energy. Imposter syndrome is so common. And I think the message for any woman having imposter syndrome is just to think that, look, you're not alone. Everyone at some stage, whether it's at school or at work, everyone has that feeling of, am I good enough, or should I be here, or so I think that's just to remember that you're not alone. Everyone's gone through it. And I think part of it is a fear of failure. So what if I fail? Like, am I going to make a fool of myself or something? And I think a lot of times is remembering that it's okay to fail. Everyone at some stage, you're not going to be successful in your first day at your job. You're going to have to learn things. You're going to mess up. You're going to fail. But you, like what Maha said, is keep going. Just, take a deep breath, shake it off, and keep going. And even if you fail, even if you think you did something wrong, just take it on board as an experience and learning experience, and do learn from it and go again. Because even if you're unsuccessful 7 times, it's that 8th time that you might be successful. So don't stop, just keep going, and just reach out. Also, you know your strengths and your weaknesses. So if you know your strengths, you know what you're good at. If you're weak at something, try and work at it, but try also to outsource it. Who else is better at that? So if you think you're not good at being creative or blogger, I'm not always think I'm very creative, then I would outsource that to someone who is creative. I'll ask them, can you help me with this? Or can you, I'll do something for you in exchange for this because you're better at this. So know your network so that you know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and outsource what you can't do. Then you will never feel that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I think that's a great, and thanks for that point, Melissa. I mean, despite my grades or whatever I had in school, when I came to adulting life, it felt so different. The pressure was so on that the imposter syndrome sort of built so much over time, that it was a deliberate navigation to tell myself that, yes, I do belong here. No, it's not somebody else who should be here. Finding that tribe of people who also, as you're saying, either I can outsource things to so that it's not all on me. I think that's another challenge, I think, that I tend to find more with women, is that we just take on a lot on our plate all the time. And so it just builds up, and then getting all of them done then becomes more difficult, etc. So I think definitely finding people, finding good resources, finding really smart people to surround yourself with is great. And maybe Tosca, I could ask you a question as well, is maybe Melissa mentioned a great point about having mentors and having people around you. Did you have any mentors, and do you run mentorship programs, or what kinds of things do you do to help sort of younger people who are coming?
Thanks, Esther. Yes, we do. It's because our Black Women in Tech Suriname is a very young organization, but we have a mentorship program. It's not so vivid and so large and deep as Melissa mentioned, but when working with women or with people, with youngsters, meaning that you have to learn them to take them from one space to another space, meaning that you have to mentor them, you have to learn them, you have to tell them, you have sometimes to take them by the hand to show them the world, because nowadays, if you look around you, looking at our young people, for example, they don't see the world as we see the world through our eyes, and we have to learn them how to move on. Like you've already mentioned, is that to prevent that they will get burned out in a world where nowadays everything you hear and everything you see is about techniques. And for example, in Suriname, we have so many challenges because the area, for example, we are working in is the hinterland. And Suriname is a very large country, and to reach the hinterland is mostly we are talking about villages. And I know that everyone here is aware when I'm talking about villages, you have to go there through boats. Nowadays you have roads, but our infrastructure is not that good yet, meaning that there are so many challenges we are facing. And because we are aware of those challenges, we want to help them. And you have to mentor them, you have to tell them, you have to teach them in their strengths, because they know that they have their strengths, because they have been living in the villages for centuries. For example, But we are moving now, like I mentioned before, from the physical space to a digital space, and meaning that there are so many things we have to do at this moment. And step by step, we are working on it. And with what I'm hearing today of these excellent ladies from you, Esther, Melissa, and Maha, I know that all of you ladies, you are giving me the power at this moment to move on, because I know for sure that we are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Tosca. Thank you so much. Okay, so maybe we have about 10 minutes, but I want to just touch on a topic that everyone wants to talk about, which is capital. For access to capital for women, women in tech, African women, entrepreneurs. We all know the statistics are so disappointing, and it can be very disheartening also. So that's something definitely with Tistawi that I've experienced, is trying to fundraise. We just working on closing our angel round. And so maybe I'll start with Maha on this one. What is your experience, and maybe what are some ways that you've seen are effective in navigating this big elephant in the room that's called capital for women?
Capital for women, one of the most difficult thing. And this is the reason why people asked me all the time, why you are a feminist. I'm feminist because I don't have any access to inheritance or access to be rich or access to all lands or big companies back home or all over. Well, yeah, it's not easy things to have to have capital to get trust. Because, for example, okay, I know Eric I don't want Eric to get angry, but I have to talk about this. Like, for example, if you ask investment with one of the leaders companies around, they won't ask you about alternative investment. No, generally they ask for a night, or they're gonna ask for a marriage, or ask for a wedding. So the discussion turns into different way. And these stories, sexual harassing, embarrassing because you are in need, won't happen to men. Second thing, these companies, which is all the time led by men, they would rather to trust other men. They won't trust women. Third thing, which is really important, like let me talk about the situation in Tunisia. Due the political transition, due the COVID-19, the situation of women is getting poor and poor and poor by the time, because we are the most fragile community. We part of the vulnerable class. So by the time, and due to these factors, the poverty among women is getting high, and especially rural women. Well, how to get out of it? I do different jobs. Like, I'm author, I pitch articles, as long as I'm good in Arabic, so it's okay. I gain money through selling articles on different places. Second, I work as a teacher. When I finish my work at 2 o'clock, I go to my office and I do my consultations. So working 3 jobs to overcome capital. And that's why I deserve to be a woman North African leader. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally hear you. I think it's, the hurdles are like so much more to navigate. Melissa, maybe I'll kick the question to you as well. And if you have other maybe tips, even if it's just how to stay motivated during that process of trying to find capital.
I think look, if you're going to be pitching in front of investors, I think just get ready to pitch hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times and never give up, because it doesn't come easy, but you must never stop, because like I said, it could be your 50th pitch in front of the 50th investor before you get the yes. But every no that you get is one no closer to that yes. So keep pushing and keep going. Also, just really try and be aware. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a wonderful tool. You can literally search on LinkedIn for accelerators, investors, funders, and like you can connect to all of them. Just use that tools, and you can open up your world. Follow people that are investors on LinkedIn, because they'll often put events for pitching, and they'll put things where you can apply for grants and things like that. Make sure that you're aware of what is available to you. I mean, there are even government grants where they are searching for women to invest in, because they have targets. So these people have money in their pockets. They've got targets that they've got to meet to say a percentage of that has to go towards women, or it has to go towards African women. So there's money sitting there, but the challenge is getting those two connected, getting the right investors and the government grants and all of this, so that it's visible and accessible. And the only way that you know about it is by growing your personal network and growing your your visibility of what's out there. And I would definitely recommend LinkedIn as a resource. So if you're really interested in funding, is connect to as many investors. You can literally search in there for people in your country, and you can do if you're not sure how to do it, I do it for a living, so I can happily reach out to me, consult you on how to search on LinkedIn for anything that you're looking for, and connect to those people and start conversations like what Maha did. She reached out and started a conversation. At the end of the day, no one's you're not going to have anything to lose by reaching out to people and starting a conversation. But there's also places where you can do like pitching competitions, and it's great practice to do your pitch right, because if you do your elevator pitch, you have like 5 minutes to sell yourself, your products, everything. So make sure that you do as many of those as possible to get the questions from the judges. Know your numbers, know your facts. Everything must be perfect, and it only becomes perfect through practice. So just be ready to get a lot of no's, and that's okay, and keep going, and just grow your network. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about just first of all, practicing, and just practice, like get yourself out there, do it 100 times, do it really well. And one thing that your comment made me realize is that the bar for like what perfection should be for women, it is much, much higher. And it's just, I think, one that we have to accept, that the bar is high. The room for mistake is also very low. So the more you could do it, the more you can sort of, as you're saying, practice, get those numbers right, get yourself known and seen, tying it back to the mentors, get yourself some mentors, have people who can give you, I think, very honest and practical feedback has also been very helpful for me. And like, I think I have like 150 pitch decks by now. I just keep tweaking and changing and all of that because of all the feedback that we keep getting and new things that I think are relevant. So I think that's a very fair point. And perhaps you can touch on, and I'll give this to Melissa and Tosca, about funds that are dedicated specifically for female founders. If you have any thoughts around that. And Melissa, as you mentioned, if you have resources that you can share, I think please do, because I know a lot of people would love to have them.
I know a few organizations. There's a few platforms of investors trying to connect women to, especially women to investors. I know a few platforms. I know a few investors personally that they contact me all the time saying, we want the next African unicorn. We want to be the next, find the next. So it is, I do know a lot of people. That's just because of my job. But I think it's really important to, like I said, grow your network. I can also, if I would say, send me your pitch deck, but then I'm going to get hundreds of pitch decks. So I can't help everyone. But what I can try is say, Look, make sure your pitch deck is on point, and when you're ready, make sure that you join platforms where you don't just connect to one investor, but you connect to multiple investors. There are these platforms available, if you know where to look.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very true. I was shocked at what I found when I started looking. It wasn't as dismal as I had in my head. Maybe Tosca, any final thoughts on that?
Yes, great. I love you, ladies.
We love you too.
This is so great, because we are now in different parts of the world, but we are connecting, and I think that access to capital is one of the most subjects we are talking about, and we are depending on where you are facing your own challenges. But listening to Melissa, to Maha, like I said before, you are empowering me myself, because in Suriname, for example, everyone wants to work in an office, even though entrepreneurs, they are not already aware of the power of their strengths to produce a product. And that's a big challenge. And based on the rules, like Maha mentioned before, the bank rules, mostly they don't meet the rules to get capital from finance to finance their products. So listening to you ladies, I love you more and more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for you too. Thank you. And
Thank
please,
you.
100.
Over to you, Maha. I don't know if you have some final thoughts before we wrap up here.
I love you too. And I'm really happy to be with you, Totska, Melissa, all of you guys. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you all. I think this has been a great conversation. I love to hear. I mean, I'm learning about so much about Suriname. I realized I know so little about it, and I'm like, I want to learn more. Maha, thank you so much for sharing how things are going in Tunisia. And Melissa, thank you from South Africa. My name is Esther from Nairobi. Over to you, Eric, to wrap it up.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank
you, Esther.
Yeah.
And before we wrap things, we call it a wrap, right? I want to have, both Esther and Melissa. This question is for both Tosca, Melissa, and also Esther, right? How are you navigating? Do 1 second here. Yeah. To Esther, Tosca, and Melissa, how are you navigating mothering, and also the whole life in the tech space and all the jobs that you're doing? We're starting with you, Tosca.
Now, Eric, like I mentioned before, nowadays, everything you're doing has to be remote, because based on the COVID at this moment and all the rules.
As in the challenges, you're a mother. In addition to that, the challenges you have to deal with, in the workplace, it could be the workplace or just generally just in the tech space. If you could just share a bit of that with us, I think that would be. How are you? The mental threshold, how are you hanging in there with all those things that have been thrown at you, got to be a mother, and also you got to navigate all the challenges in workplace.
As a mother,
yes.
The thing is, I was used to work in an office from a certain time, and now I have to work at home. But believe me, working home doesn't mean that you work less, meaning that you work, because if I'm, for example, working and I have something like, okay, while I'm doing this, I can cook, I can clean, I can do all kinds of things. And we are women. We don't sit and do one thing at a certain time. We multiply. things all the time, because I was listening, for example, to Miles Monroe, and he said, give a woman a thing and she will multiply it for you, and that's it for me. And it's not that easy, because you have to learn to for your quality time, for example, and also to your business time. And between that, you have your family. You have, meaning that it's not that I will be at home and doing nothing. And within that, because a day has only 24 hours, not 25. And within that 24 hours, I have to do all kinds of things. And that's a big challenge, for a mother. I don't have, my children are not that young anymore, but still you have to look after them. And, while working is something like, mommy, I need this, mommy, I need that, mommy, I this. So the focus on what you're doing is also a challenge. But like I said before, we are women and we are capable of doing so many things. And I think that up till now, I think I can be proud of myself, because I know who I am. I know where I came from, and surely I know where I'm going. And that's my concept of living. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Fantastic, answer, Tosca. Same question, to you, Melissa. Mother / all the amazing things you do. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've just got a lot of energy, so I can get a lot done with very little sleep. No, but it's I've got 2 children. I'm a mother of 2. My daughter is almost 16 in like a month and a half, and my son is 6. So I've got a 10-year age gap, which is interesting. I must say that even for my work, my clients are quite human. Everyone's human, right? So when I say to them, look, I'm working from home today, my son is at home, if he pops in to give me a hug, that's just how it is. And I think embrace the fact that you're human, and embrace the fact that you're a mother, because it actually makes you more approachable, and it makes you people see that you're also just doing your thing. So my children do know when I say to them, guys, I'm going on live now, so please can you just keep it down. So they're pretty good. And having the big age gap helps. So my daughter sometimes can watch over her little brother just for like an hour while I'm quickly doing something.
And my experience with that, when I say that, that's when they end up on my neck, right? Yeah, but when do you have time to play with those cute, penguins, in Cape Town, and sharks, in Cape Town?
Oh yes. Well, there's weekends, right? Yeah. Okay. So I do have a rule that I do try and separate work and play. Okay. But I do try and we have family time. This weekend, today actually we went to the aquarium in Cape Town and the waterfront. So the morning we spent it was nice and sunny, so they swam. So now they're just exhausted, so it actually works out really well. But I mean, you just work it around things, and you just make it happen. And like also you outsource things in your personal life as well. So sometimes if I just have a very busy day and I just cannot stand to go cook something, then okay, I'll get a takeaway for that night. It's not a train smash, it's not every night, but I mean, you do try and outsource things where you think actually it's okay if I ask for help, or if I get a cleaning person to come in for a day or something just to help out. So try and outsource. Yeah. So because it's okay, and they always say it takes a village to raise a child. So create a village. I've got excellent neighbors. Amazing. And I've got family around. So you do try and use the village and the network.
The support system is there, right? That's awesome. Yes. And same question, Esther. And in you, we're looking at a unicorn, potentially, right? Chastawi. So when do you make time? How does that? How do you?
Yes,
how do you balance that? How do you balance motherhood and also building Chastawi?
Yeah, I love this question because Eric, as you alluded to earlier, it doesn't even come up in male panels. How do they balance being a father and working, right? So it always cracks me up because it is so woman centric, and I think it's part of what really annoys me about it. But I think Melissa has said really spot on. My kids are quite young, so it's about I outsource a lot. And I try to find a balance between my day so that I can be able to support them on what they need to do. And I think I also found a partner that's just a lot more hands-on, I think, than baseline or whatever the baseline is, that then allows me to be able to do work and a few other things. And I think it's a difficult question. I think it's I think it's part of what has kept us out of leadership roles and out of entrepreneurship and so many other things, because it factors, it's so big. It's so big in our lives, this thing of being a mother and doing other things. And you want to be a friend, so you need to be there for your people, and a sister, and whatever many other roles you have to play in life. So I hope, what I actually do hope is that eventually we can get to a place where we don't have to have this question, and that there is just more equity in workload as well as in the workforce. Yeah, absolutely.
And I agree with you 110%. And some of us men, I think, with more support, I think we're going to be seeing some of this unicorn, especially lady CEOs like you. So hey, you need all the support you need, and so the men, hey, out there, you're watching. Let's step up and give them all the necessary support. A little bit more than what we're currently given. And I know before we run, all of you, Tosca, Melissa, and Esther, and Maha, you're amazing, women doing brilliant things, like what, in your calling, and what you're passionate about. And I also want to give, Dr. Badio the opportunity. She is equally an amazing woman. Back in Nigeria, I think from Atlanta just recently. She's also coordinating the Nigeria Diaspora Investment Fund Summit, and equally a mother. And I just want to make sure she's acknowledged here. I know she's not ready probably to get on camera or to say something, but if you can hear us, Dr. Badio, you can. Yeah, wonderful. We're going to allocate about good 5 minutes to Dr. Badio to share her experience, a bit of her experience just navigating, as a mother, and also the whole work. You have to fly from one country to another, and just the work life itself,
Right.
If you could just share that a little bit before we run. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. Sorry I joined late. Where do I start with my story? I think mine is kind of like a unique one. Most of you probably don't have the same experience I do. I'm a single mom. I have 3 children. 2 of them, the oldest, with developmental disabilities. So that has really been the push for my life. Being an overachiever and being very competitive, where you suddenly find that your children, whom you have this aspiration, will become astronauts or civil engineers or whatever. When you now find out that that will not be, it kind of put a little dent in your self-esteem, in your belief system, in quite a lot of what you do. But that the children had actually been my motivators. They're the ones who pushed me into trying to be more of an overachiever and trying to do way much more. Because as a single parent, I suddenly find myself being the father, the mother, the therapist, the teacher, the driver, the everything. And living in the US, not having enough supports. I had to just try and do, and get them to as many therapies as I could. And the unique thing about it is my daughter, they're now 30, by the way, and if you see them, you will not know that they have a disability. She used to not let me sleep at night. She would say, Mom, you have to help me with my homework. No matter how tired I was, each time I go home, homework will be greeting me on the dining table. So she kind of made me more to realize that, those of us who have the abilities, it's really, we really need to do what we can to do more and give back. Because there's a child who has a disability who wants to do more than she's able to. So what's our excuse? So that's really the motivator behind most things that I do. I push myself a lot. I work a lot because I want to provide for them for the future. I'm always multitasking. They've taught me to be that way. I'm a more humble person now than I was. Prior to my children, I was very out there, in the entertainment industry, acting and directing and producing in Hollywood, mind you. I was always out and about and, in the industry. But after my children, I calmed down. So they taught me to appreciate life, to value life, and to give back. So because of that, I run my foundation, which is, we have a learning center. We provide educational therapy, speech therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, academics, psychological counseling, socio-emotional counseling. We provide everything for both children and adults with developmental disabilities. And this one is in Abuja. And also the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit is also a way of giving back to the society. I don't have money, but I have time and I have talent and I'm dedicated. So that's my way of giving back. That's my tithe. And the whole reason for the investment summit is we want to impact the local communities, the MSMEs. We want investors to really look at this struggling youth, struggling women, struggling farmers, people who have startups in tech, whatever the sector is, we want to impact their lives because we know that's where we will see the biggest impact. It's not in doing projects for government. With government, there's a lot of bureaucracy, but with a little man, you see immediate results. You invest in them, they start, impacting their families, they're able to feed their families. You stop giving them fish, you now start teaching them how to fish so that they can survive and impact their own communities, one community at a time. Before you know it, the whole area council or the rural area would start getting developed. The more rural areas that are being developed, the more cities will be developed, the more revenue to the nation. So it's a win-win. We develop the socioeconomic, economic aspects of society. That's what we want to impact, and that's what we do. Upon all these too, I still have my own main job. So we try to make it work. As I said, my children are my greatest motivators. They influence me. They make me do everything I do.
Thank you. And Dr. Badio, amazing. Continue to do the extraordinary things you've done and continue to do. And I equally know Melissa joining us from Cape Town, South Africa. Just the mental, both the capacity and kind of just being altruistic, and being selfless, continue to do what God has chosen you to do, and equally to Esther as well, joining us from Kenya, and we have Tosca all the way from South Africa, believe it or not. Just sharing your experiences and ours as men, as allies, some of us that are either husbands, the little, and also fathers to daughter or daughters, we can relate, it's what we can do within our limited resources to give you the opportunity to do what you're passionate about. And if it's building a company or just serving, the community, we're able to also take on, some of the load, so that you have, some decent amount of time, to also indulge in that. And Maha as well, your brilliant self, and just constantly joining us from Nutchuk in Mauritania. Thank you for joining us today. And hopefully next time, Dr. Badio, we're able to share much more on some of the things you've also you're working on. And but overall, I thank you all for participating today. This is the ACOFDC podcast. And before we run, I want to give the head of communication, Kelvin Geraghty, the opportunity to also do the closer for us before we call it a wrap. And hopefully next Sunday here we'll have some of you back and to share similar some other subjects, topics we did not touch on this Sunday. Kelvin?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. And it's evening my time, joining from Nigeria, West Africa. It's been a very enriching discussion, conversation coming from our leaders, the women themselves, which the Chamber hopes and seeks to advocate for. Inclusion is a watchword. It's what it's our core value of giving leadership space and space generally for women participation in leadership, in technology, in finance, and of course opportunities. It's been an enriching discussion. Thank you, Badiwa. Your story is very, very touching, captivating. Thank you to all the other ladies and joining us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So for the as we're exiting, if you're watching on YouTube, this has been what we call the ACOFDC, the Women in Tech and Friends. So we're going to expect more to come, where we're going to be featuring amazing women that are doing brilliant things in our communities all over Africa and beyond, to share their stories, to share other things we can learn from as well. So this is going to be a constant feature within the chamber, as part of part of illuminating and also giving our sisters, mothers, the opportunity to share their stories, and hopefully it motivates a young girl that is sitting somewhere, let's say in Lagos or somewhere in Cape Town or somewhere in Paramaribo or somewhere in Nairobi or even beyond or somewhere in Nakchut. And thank you for making time. I know it's probably late in the evening, your time. So enjoy the evening, the Sunday with your family. So yeah, catch you here on Sunday. Esther, Melissa, Tosca, Maha, Dr. Vaidya, and Kelvin Geraghty, Julius Kagama, and also Marina just joining now. Hopefully you'll get more time next week, you will have the opportunity to also participate. But hey, enjoy the Sunday and have a great one.
All right, bye.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.